Welcome to Topic A, everyone. I'm your host, Gary Perna. This week on Topic A, I'm joined by Justice Coriel Stevens. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court, what it does here in Pennsylvania, and maybe you've never heard of it before. We're going to explain everything in the judicial system to you as much as we can in a half hour coming up on Topic A only on WYLN.
All Care Home Care, the health care that you need in the comfort and privacy of your own home.
At All Care Home Care, our caring and compassionate staff of skilled nurses, occupational, speech, physical therapists, dietitian, social worker, and home health aides will give you the professional care you need. Call 459-3002.
With All Care Home Care, you will feel so much better and be able to do so much more.
Remember, it's still your choice. For your care, call us and we'll be there.
Penn State is right here in the Hazleton area.
We're top ranked by corporate recruiters.
We have four-year degrees, so you can finish here
or at another Penn State campus.
There's new scholarship money available.
And there's no application fee when you visit here.
Penn State Hazleton.
Download your application fee waiver at psu.edu/visit-hazleton.
Life has its twists and turns. It can take many different shapes. But a good retirement plan changes with your life. And as we talk about what you're putting away and how much you'll need to retire, what was uncertain becomes clear. At Wells Fargo Advisors, we believe conversation leads to financial clarity. Let's start a conversation today.
Get your green on and join us for the Wilkes-Barre St. Patrick's Day Parade, Sunday, March 15th. Parade coverage starts at 2 p.m. live on WYLN TV 35. Thousands of spectators, vintage vehicles, local talent, floats, marching bands, and more. The Wilkes-Barre St. Patrick's Day Parade, Sunday, March 15th. Parade coverage starts at 2 p.m. on WYLN TV 35. We're your local network.
Welcome back to Topic A, everyone. I'm Gary Perna, and like I said earlier, I'm very pleased to be joined by a Pennsylvania Supreme Court Justice Coriel Stevens, who hails right here from the greater Hazleton area. So, Judge Stevens, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us today.
My pleasure, and this is a great public service, so I'm happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Judge, you have been involved in the judicial system for many, many years. Before being a judge, you were the district attorney,
yes.
And you served a lot of time in the public sector. But I want to talk a little bit, before we get into the judicial system and everything, I want to talk about you for a little bit. You started as state representative, a lawyer, state representative, before becoming district attorney, represented area right here in the greater Hazleton area. Many years in the public system. What drove you to be a public servant and to, help people?
Well, as you know, I grew up in this area, and the people here have always been very great to me in elections, but I would say it actually started in 7th grade. I had a teacher by the name of Mr. Cataldo in civics class, and he told us to write down 10 things you'd like to do. And everything I looked at was tied into law and government, the FBI and various things.
Did you want to be an FBI agent?
Oh, I thought about that, yes. I sure did.
You were a state representative here for some time before becoming district attorney here in Luzerne County for a couple of years. A lot of things have changed in the judicial system from your time as a district attorney. You see everything that goes on now. What do you think back to your time as DA compared to what goes on now?
Well, there's really not a lot that's different. I mean, we have a lot of high crime, and a lot of court time is taken up. In criminal law, I would say on the Supreme Court, about 65% of our cases involve criminal law. So not a lot's changed, really.
No, I guess when you look at the big picture, you have served in Luzerne County, and then you served in the Superior Court.
Yes.
Before being tapped onto the Supreme Court. Could you explain to us the Superior Court first of all, and kind of what they deal with, and how a case may get in front of the Superior Court first?
Sure. Well, it all starts when there's a trial. Let's take a criminal trial. And when a person is convicted, they have the right to appeal, and the Superior Court has to take those appeals.
Okay.
And also, all criminal appeals go directly to the Superior Court except death penalty. They come to the Supreme Court first. And then the Superior Court has 15 judges, and they hear cases all around the state. In fact, when I was president judge, I scheduled, we were at MMI in Hazleton, Dallas High School, and we were actually at Hazleton High School one time, and we would hold court there. And then they decide if the person got a fair trial.
Now, do all 15 justices in one spot, or is it kind of broken up across the state?
What they do is panels of 3. Okay. So it's never one judge deciding the case. It's always 3 judges deciding the case on Superior Court. On the Supreme Court, normally we have 7 members. Right now we only have 5. All Supreme Court justices sit in on every case.
Okay. Now, how, I mean, we formed this the right way, how different is the Pennsylvania Supreme Court different from the federal Supreme Court that, you know, hears federal laws and cases?
Well, the main difference, of course, is that Pennsylvania Supreme Court, when we make a ruling, everybody in Pennsylvania, every judge, everybody is bound by it. When the U.S. Supreme Court makes a ruling, then everybody's bound by it. We have a lot of similarities. For example, the Superior Court has to take criminal appeals. What happens is the appeals on the Supreme Court, we look at them from Superior, and we just pick the ones where there's enough controversy or major policy that's needed. So we don't take every appeal. We only take about 7% of the appeals.
Okay. Now, for it to get before the Supreme Court, does it have to go through the Superior Court to get to you guys, or can it be appealed right to the Supreme Court?
As a general rule, it has to go trial court, Superior Court, and then they request the Supreme Court to hear it. There are times when, if there's an emergency application, or there's something called, lawyers will ask us to exercise what's called King's Bench power, where we would step in and take the case before it goes anywhere else. That is very rarely used. We have a process, trial court, Superior Court, Supreme Court. That's what a normal process.
Have there been a lot of, this may be a weird question, but with the, you may see someone comes saying, well, we're appealing it because it violated my constitutional rights, or, you know, it violated, you know, some other right that we may have. When it goes before the Supreme Court, how long does it usually take for a ruling to be handed down? Because it could take some time until you hear everything and research everything.
Well, there are certain deadlines. Lawyers have to file written legal arguments, and then we might have argument court, where the lawyers come and make their case, where the defendant does not show up, just the lawyers. That became problematic when I scheduled a Dallas High School argument court with Superior Court. Unknown to me at the time, the Jerry Sandusky case was scheduled. And people in Dallas were calling me saying they thought that Jerry Sandusky himself was going to be at the high school, which of course he wasn't. So we moved it to the courthouse to just, you know, allay everybody's fears. But it takes about a year till it gets to Superior Court, and then about another year for Supreme Court.
Okay. Now, sitting on the Superior Court, because you sat on the Superior Court for a while before being tapped to move up to the Supreme Court. What do you say is maybe one of the biggest differences that you're seeing between the Superior Court and the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania?
Well, the Supreme Court looks at things differently. Superior Court is bound by legal precedent that we have, and so is the Supreme Court to an extent. But what might happen is a panel of the Superior Court judges in Pittsburgh might make a ruling that conflicts with something the Superior Court panel in Philly said. The Supreme Court would then decide, and then everybody would be bound by it. But the main difference is that the Supreme Court does major policy decisions that affect the entire state, whereas the Superior Court, you take a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Hope I'm explaining that.
No, and I'm trying to follow, because trust me, I'm not the biggest legal law guy, and so I'm trying to ask the questions. You have also, and we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, I want to talk about, you have gone out in the community to a lot of schools to explain your job and how it's done. So when we come back, I'm going to ask you to kind of pretend that we were in school and explain, what exactly happens. And I listened to you the one time, I believe it was at Valley Elementary, and I was fascinated by how you explained it and talked to the kids. Sure. So we're going to talk about that. Judge Stevens here with us on Topic A. We'll be right back, everyone.
Athletes try talking themselves out of being hurt.
I'm good.
Working past the pain because they want to keep on playing.
Okay. I'm good.
Coordinated Health understands. As the #1 sports medicine team in the region, we get these champions back in the game with pro-level care.
Yeah, I'm good.
Because we make you better together.
At Cuck's Turkey Farm, we are family-owned and operated for over 45 years, and we consistently strive to produce premium poultry. We offer the finest all-natural country poultry, antibiotic-free, all-vegetarian fed with superior white meat yield and exceptional flavor. So we invite you to experience the unique natural taste of our poultry for your enjoyment and your health. Give us a call or stop in today.
Get the entire story when it's convenient for you. And get it from WILN News. 2 daily newscasts from your #1 source for local news. WILN's Evening Edition, news at 5:30. And WILN's Late Edition, news at 10. More than just headlines. It's the whole story. In-depth reporting on hot topics and more. Plus the area's most accurate weather report from the WILN Weather Center. More news, weather, and sports twice a day. Only on WILN, we're your local network.
During these changing times, is your insurance program up to date? I'm local Allstate agent Gary McNeilis. I invite you to come into our office or give us a call. We'll help you be sure that you have the proper coverage to take care of all your family's needs at a price you can afford. Now more than ever, you need to be in good hands to protect everything that's important to you. Our team of insurance professionals and I will be honored to serve you. Are you in good hands?
The Beer Garage, 202 East Diamond Avenue in Hazleton. More than just beer. Coffee, all sizes, only $1. Get your lottery tickets here, too. Stop in today, The Beer Garage in Hazleton. It's time for a change. Whether it's a sales meeting, company party, wedding, or private event, Whitetail Preserve is here for you, offering trap, skeet, and sporting clays with menu options to fit your budget. We can handle all of your catering needs. Whitetail Preserve, 570-384-2314.
WILN TV 35 has strong ties to the community, as evident in its commitment to important causes like the American Cancer Society and Helping Hand Society telethons. WILN's commitment to northeastern Pennsylvania continues with a broadcast of Hazleton's Funfest Parade and both the Christmas and St. Patrick's Day parades in Wilkes-Barre. In the summer, we broadcast to Weatherly and Giants of Spare Hill Climb, and throughout the year, we provide important community services through the broadcast of town meetings, school board meetings, election night coverage, and other events. WILN, we're your local network.
And welcome back, everyone, to Topic A. And I am pleased to be joined by Judge Stevens of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And Judge, we were talking in the break about how a case gets to the Supreme Court. We're also going to talk about the different rules that you guys have to follow, and then the unique situation you're in. Mm-hmm. So I first want to start with, explain it to us how this all would happen, if it would start in a trial court here, say in Luzerne County, and how it works its way all the way up to somebody can appeal it to the Supreme Court.
Sure. The first thing that happens is someone is arrested, mm-hmm. and then they go before district justice for bail, mm-hmm. and then they have a right to a preliminary hearing to see if there's enough evidence to go to trial. Mm-hmm. Most defendants waive that. They just say, let's just go to county court.
Right.
And there you're dealing with the county judges who are elected for 10 years, and they deal just in the county courthouse. Here it's in Wilkes-Barre, mm-hmm. In Pottsville and Schuylkill County, right. and so on. And that's where the trial is with the jury. So when people get jury duty, they go to the county courthouse. Mm-hmm. And then if the person is found guilty, then they appeal to Superior Court. And once Superior Court rules, they have legal arguments and so on. Once they make a decision, then there's a request for the Supreme Court to hear it. And that's what I was saying before. We don't take all the requests, only the most important legal cases. Every case is important, but only the cases that have major legal consequences. And that's the general process. Then once we make a ruling, it's over. Except in death penalty cases, the defendant will often try to go to federal court, separate from the Pennsylvania system.
Right, and does that happen, I don't want to say happen a lot, but does that happen a lot with death penalty cases in Pennsylvania? If the decision comes up that they're not happy with it, they appeal it, and that has to go a couple rounds before it gets to the United States Supreme Court.
Which normally they don't get that far, but it's very frustrating for Pennsylvania because when we hear the cases and we spend a lot of time, maybe it takes 2 or 3 years in a death penalty case, and we say everything's fine, and then a federal judge will issue a stay order, in effect stopping everything, and then the federal courts hear it. So it's a long process. The death penalty cases are a long process. But I just upheld a death penalty case down in Adams County where I can't think of it, a forest ranger was brutally killed. And the defendant was found guilty, and he's supposed to get the death penalty, but right now we upheld it, Supreme Court. And then a federal judge has it on hold.
Now, does that play in with the recent order from Governor Wolf, who put a stop to death penalties right now? So, you know, the court's saying we're upholding it, but the governor's saying, well, I'm stopping it right now. So everything's kind of in limbo.
Yes, that's a very interesting constitutional question, and the Supreme Court, Pennsylvania, we're going to have to decide, is that something the governor has the legal authority to do or not, or should people go to the legislature if they want to change the death penalty? So at this point, I can just tell you that's going to be an interesting constitutional question that we're going to have to decide in the very near future.
Okay, so we'll stay tuned for that. But Judge Stevens, you said earlier that there are 5 Supreme Court justices right now in Pennsylvania when there's supposed to be 7, so there's 2 vacancies. Obviously, the court system has to go on until those vacancies are filled. Now, will they be filled this term with the election, or how does that happen?
Well, right now there are actually 3 vacancies on the ballot. I was appointed from Superior Court, where I won a statewide election. I was appointed to the Supreme Court to fill a vacancy that had occurred. And so I ended up having a 2.5-year term, which is up at the end of this year. When the governor and the Senate confirmed me, they did not put me under any conditions, so I'm free to run, which I'm doing. And then there are 2 other vacancies. There was one retirement duty age, and the other retirement under a controversial set of emails that were going on. So the governor did submit 2 names a few weeks ago to fill the vacancies that exist. But then he withdrew both names for different reasons. So right now it's just going to be the 5 of us till the end of the year, and in November people will pick 3 Supreme Court justices.
And you just mentioned that you're running again to stay on the Supreme Court, and it's a unique position because a lot of times if somebody's appointed, you know, they on for 10 years and then it's a yes or no, do we keep them or do we find somebody new? But this is a different situation for you.
This is different in the history of Pennsylvania. Normally, when a judge runs again, it's a yes-no vote, which is relatively easy. You're not running against anybody. And most people do vote yes in most cases. But in my case, because I was appointed, I can't run on a yes-no vote. But because I wasn't required to say I won't run, I'm running. So as far as we know, it's never been done before where a Supreme Court justice like I am now is running in a contested election with other people running against them. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Coming from northeastern Pennsylvania, it's tough to get elected statewide, but fortunately people here have always been supportive of me.
Now, I know you're saying that your fellow judges, and a lot of them who are put up to the Supreme Court, come from the bigger cities, the Pittsburgh, the Philadelphia, and that's where a lot of your colleagues are serving from, that general area. You know, so a guy from northeastern Pennsylvania who you know, you're going out there and putting your name across the state. So could we see you driving across to Pittsburgh and then to Harrisburg and all over the place to meet people?
Absolutely. I've run twice before statewide, and knock on wood, I was able to win. But this it's a little different. Just have to see where it all goes. I'm just going to do my best. But our court does meet. You asked me about the court before. We meet in Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And when I was on Superior Court, I used to bring the court out into the community. And I always thought that that was good. People could see the court, and people would come. And a lot of times the schools cooperated, law schools, even high schools.
Right.
For example, at MMI, it was open to the public. Everything's open to the public, which is important. And now it's on PCN.
Right.
They cover it. And I think it's good that people see their court, see it in action, listen to the lawyers. And the lawyers have been great. I mean, they stay and they'll take questions from the students just as the judges. We do.
And I know that it was very popular when it was moved across. You said Dallas, MMI, and Hazleton. So to get the next generation kind of thinking about becoming lawyers and everything like that, it's really important.
I've actually had students tell me that after they saw the court, they're interested in some type of law or government, which is great.
Did you ever have one of your students come up before, that was a student come up before you?
That hasn't happened yet.
Not yet.
But it could happen in the future.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, a few more questions for Judge Stevens. Remember, you're watching Topic A on WYLN. We'll be right back.
Well, I'll never forget it. 1 minute, we were talking about going to the movies, and the next, Maggie could barely speak. It was a stroke. I thought I was going to lose her. But I never saw doctors work so fast. Anyway, she's coming home tomorrow. I just hope she doesn't yell at me for killing all the plants.
If you haven't found the perfect fishing getaway, you haven't been to Captain's Cove. Located on Henderson Harbor in upstate New York, Captain's Cove offers a variety of accommodations to please just about anyone. The motel, also located on the harbor, offers a magnificent view. Enjoy free morning coffee, air-conditioned rooms, cable TV, and HBO. The cottage can accommodate up to 8 people with 3 bedrooms, a complete kitchen, washer, dryer, 2 full baths, air conditioning, an outside grill and picnic table. Call us today for rates and information at 1-800-824-FISH.
Tune in each week to WYLN TV 35 to watch the #1 Hazleton-based broadcasted television talk show, The Storm, hosted by Tiffany Cloud. Candidates, politicians, community leaders, and more appear on The Storm when they want to be heard. New shows air Wednesdays at 8 p.m. and these additional air times. Only on WYLN TV 35. We're your local network.
Welcome back, everyone. In our closing about 6 minutes here of the show, Judge Stevens, I want to talk about how the Supreme Court makes decisions. Obviously, you said there's 5 judges up there that have to hear everything and go through the process. So how does it happen? How do all 5 of you have to make the same decision, or how does it come out?
Okay, well, first, if I could tell you, as a trial judge, the trial judges have to make decisions like right on the spot, because just like on TV shows, lawyers say objection, and the trial judges have to make a lot of quick decisions, but they're based on their knowledge of the law and their experience in the courtroom. But then when it goes to Superior Court and Supreme Court, it's a little bit different. What happens is most of my work is done in my local office. I'm in Drums, my local office. And what we do is when we have court, what we do is after the court session, in Superior Court we have 45 cases in 2 days.
Wow.
Supreme Court we have about 8 or 9 in each day for 2 days, but they're the bigger cases and policy-wise.
Right.
And then we sit in a room after and we make a preliminary vote, just the judges. We sit down and we decide how we think we want to vote. And then the Chief Justice, or in Superior Court, when I was the President Judge, that I would assign the cases to the other judges. And then we go back to our own offices, wherever they are,
right.
And then we research and we write an opinion, and we send it by email to the other judges. And then once you get a majority, that's the law. So the choices are you can join the majority opinion, and it might be all 5 of us on Supreme Court, or it might be 3. And then there's something called a dissent, where you write, you don't agree with what the majority is saying, but that dissent does not have the force of law. It's just the opinion of the minority.
Right.
And then there's something called a concurrence, where I say I agree with what the majority is saying, but I look at it a little bit differently, logically and legally.
Okay.
So anyway, it's a lot of discussion back and forth through telephone and email.
Right.
And once we have a consensus of a majority, it gets filed, and then that's available to the news media and the public, and that becomes the law.
Now, do you have a time frame to after you hear in the trial to make your decision? You know, how long does it usually take?
Well, we have our own internal rules that we try to follow, but a lot of times, if there's discussion back and forth, sometimes it just takes longer than it normally would. And there are other cases that go fast. Yep, we agree, let's write it, and we'll do it. So generally, though, it takes a few months after the argument before a decision actually comes out.
Now, you have with the five justices. There have been times where it's just you have 2 saying yes, 2 saying no, and then you have that one person in the middle, and it's just taken some time to see, well, I see it this way, but I can also see it this way. You know, does that happen a lot? The little middle ground you got to try to work on.
Sometimes it does happen, but what we do is we try to see what's best for the law, and how can we write the decision in a way that most of us agree with it. So it's always a work in progress. And that's good because you get different viewpoints. You get different viewpoints based on philosophy, on the way you read the other cases. So it's a good process because it makes everybody think and rethink, so that by the time the decision comes out, some really serious logical viewpoints have been made.
Okay. All right. Well, it's very interesting, and I would like to sit and watch it one time. And I was telling the judge that I actually was caught part of it on PCN, which you said now they're being televised. But you encourage people to come out and see it, to watch it, to kind of understand how it all works.
I think it's important that people know their courts. And PCN has been great. On Superior Court, they cover everything. And it was recently, in the last few years, the Supreme Court decided they would let them in the courtroom also. And it's great. And when you do things like this, it's a great public service that people get to know a little bit more about the courts rather than just what you see on a news blip.
And the Supreme Court meets in Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and Pittsburgh. So if you're ever looking for something to do, people can sit in and listen to it as well, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And it's online. The schedule's online, where we are, when we're there. The list of cases is online. But again, I mean, you can always watch it online too. Because Philadelphia might be a little trip.
Little trip. All right. Well, Judge, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. Have you on anytime you want to come up and talk with us.
Thank you.
You know, it's fascinating how our government works, everybody. Pay attention to it. Get involved. You know, watch them online. Go to the website. Find out as much as you can about our judicial system here in Pennsylvania and locally as well. Luzerne County, Schuylkill County, Carbon, Columbia counties, go to the courthouses and get involved. Thank you so much for watching Topic A this week. I'm Gary Perna. Remember, get involved in your community, take part in something. We'll see you next time here on WYLN.